Both Jango and Boba Fett are often considered two of the coolest characters in Star Wars lore. However, if you only look at the first 6 episodic films, they aren't really showing off in all of their glory, and it's been up to the extended universe material to flesh out their mystique. But while Boba may be having his time in the sun following his badass appearance in The Mandalorian, his dad really only has one highlight, and we're going to talk about it today. This is the story of 2002's Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Tom from UDS, your home for alternative pop culture, and welcome to the latest edition of the best Star Wars video games ever. And if you are a fan of all things video games, Star Wars or otherwise, make sure to check out the channel for more videos to check out after this one. But for now, let's go catch some bounties. Star Wars Bounty Hunter was developed in-house by LucasArts the same year that Episode 2 Attack of the Clones released. Ostensibly a 3D third-person action platformer, the game serves as a prequel to the film, adding some sorely needed backstory to our boy Jango. While we've had some great extended universe content set between the films, we've actually had very little between Episodes 1 and 2. And this has always felt like a bit of a missed opportunity, as aside from the gaps between the trilogies, these films have the biggest time jump between them, clocking in at 10 years. Now I'll admit, I am not that well versed on this time period, both in Legends and in canon. However, of what I have experienced, Bounty Hunter is by far the most intriguing story. We start the story almost immediately after the events of The Phantom Menace, where we're greeted with that glorious traditional opening crawl. This tells us that the aftermath of the Battle of Naboo has left the galaxy in disarray, and a mysterious and deadly cult known as the Bando Gora are causing such a stir. Even old Chief Sidious is worried that they may affect his grand plans. He asks his secret apprentice Saruman to stop them and their leader, Kumari Vosa, who also happens to be a fallen Jedi. And while he's doing all that, he still needs to find a suitable host for their clone army. Turns out Sith are masters of project management. Who knew? We then jump into the shoes of Jango, who, after establishing himself as a badass by dispatching of a big beastie within the first few moments, is told of an offer he simply can't refuse. His Toydarian friend Rosetta shares a hologram of Lord Summerisle, who informs Jango he'll be offered 5 million Republic credits if he can take down Kumari Vosa and end Bando Gora. Mission received, we jump aboard not Slave 1, but Jango's first ship, Jasta's Legacy, named after his mentor Jasta Mareel. Our first stop is Coruscant, where you have to infiltrate a seedy death stick market to find leads to help you on your hunt. And before long, you uncover a conspiracy involving corrupt senators, drugs laced with neurotoxins, and even your own Mandalorian arch-nemesis, Montrose. I won't dive too much more into the finer details, just in case you want to check it out for yourself, but after Coruscant, you'll zip across the galaxy following leads until you find your target. In that time, you'll lose your ship, acquire Slave 1, lose Rosetta, and ultimately avenge her. Oh, it's quite the emotional roller coaster. In the final stages, you do track down and defeat Vosa with the help of Zam Wessel. I wonder what happened to her. It's then revealed that Willy Wonka's dad knew where Vosa, who turns out to be his former Padawan, was all along. And the whole job was just a ruse to test whether Jango would be a suitable template for the clone army. Naturally, he agrees, but under the condition he can have one unaltered clone, fulfilling Rosetta's final wish for him to find something to live for other than money. In my opinion, if you're gonna get the most out of Attack of the Clones, you just gotta play Bounty Hunter. It adds so much weight to Jango's character arc, as well as developing the mystery of the clone's origins. Even if it's not canon, it's pretty much the best we have right now, and it's the sort of thing that could be easily reworked back in, much like the likes of Delta Squad from Republic Commando. Overall, the game consists of 18 levels over 6 planets, and particularly for the time it was released, it's really refreshing to see them all from the proverbial street level. And by that, what I mean is, not as a righteous, near-omnipotent space wizard with enough deus ex machinas to put Doctor Who to shame, but rather as Jango himself puts it, a simple man trying to make his way in the universe. Seeing the seedy underbelly of the Star Wars galaxy is always fun, and playing in it is even better. So that pretty much does it in terms of the story and aesthetics, but how does Star Wars Bounty Hunter play? Well, for the most part, really well. As I said, it's largely an action platformer in which you traverse expansive levels, taking down baddies, collecting bounties, and completing objectives. The combat can be super fun, with auto-aiming making Jango's iconic dual blaster pistols a joy to use. You can't help but feel like a badass when you're mowing down 2 enemies at a time. And that's not to mention the rest of your lethal arsenal, including a wrist-mounted flamethrower. Oh, that's good stuff. Side note, Jango also has one of the most satisfying punch combos I've ever come across. I remember spending many afternoons as a kid in the garden trying to copy it and shadowboxing invisible battle droids. Yeah, I was one hidden camera away from being the next Star Wars kid. In true Mandalorian tradition, you also have a dope-ass jetpack at your disposal, some of the time. And this is where the criticisms start. It just runs out of juice far too quickly, making it lose a lot of its oomph. Look, I understand not wanting to make the game too easy, but it's hard to feel like a powerful bounty hunter when your coolest accessory runs out of puff quicker than a stoner at a Fish concert. What's more, the difficulty curve is absolutely brutal. You can breeze through the early stages pretty quickly, but you'll eventually come up against more and more enemies until you find yourself in seemingly unwinnable situations. I'm hesitant to call it flat out unfair, but by God, I can see why I never completed the game as a kid. This isn't helped one bit by the optional side missions, in which you have to locate petty crooks with bounties on their heads. In principle, this is a pretty neat idea, and adds to the sense that you're traversing a living, breathing world. The only thing is, you have to scan every single NPC until you find them, and even then, they're probably part of an armed gang, making it almost impossible to bring them in alive. If at all, if I'm honest. But don't worry too much if it all gets a bit frustrating, as all you get is unlockable concept art. There's no in-game benefit, so if it's not for you, just give it a miss. But despite these gripes, this is still a largely excellent game over its roughly 6-hour runtime. It matches the tone of the source material perfectly, from the environmental storytelling to the excellent cutscenes. Many of the issues are simply products of the time. Even gems like The Simpsons Hit and Run are guilty of raising the difficulty for some artificial padding. And honestly, once you're wrapped up in the story, you won't mind one bit. Or maybe you will, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. So did you play Star Wars Bounty Hunter back in the day, or are you looking to check it out now? It's available on PS4 and 5, so if you have one, I definitely recommend seeking it out. But most importantly, let me know in the comments below which Star Wars game to feature next. I keep on buying these things, and if I don't make videos about them, how am I going to write them off as a business expense? I do not want to pay tax on Yoda's Challenge Activity Center.